And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into DVD. D-May, Svingen, Donick here on a Wednesday, May 14th. My mom's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Mom, if you're
Happy birthday,
watching
Mama.
from afar.
Mama Donick.
Yes, 80 years old today. Ann Donick,
wow.
the former Oak Ridge Wildcat from over in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, down I-40 back in the day.
The ripe
So shout out,
young
Mom.
age of 80.
Yes.
Man.
Still moving, still playing pickleball, still doing her thing.
And she got a shot? She got a
she
shot?
can play.
She still got that shot?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She's an athlete.
So how many times, tell me this, how many times did Mom go in the backyard or go in the driveway and throw up a couple baskets with y'all?
At times. My dad was more the leader in that. My mom was a really good tennis player. So she was a tennis coach. So I was on the tennis court more than anything else, but she could get out there. She can get out there, hoop a little bit, do it, throw the ball a little bit. She
knock it down if she need to.
Oh, believe me, my dad was he had that in mind as he was courting her, asking her out. You know, he's like, oh yeah, she's got some game. Yeah, I need to beat this woman.
We may have a
she's cool.
We may have a future Willie Donick, you know.
That's where it all began. That's where it all began for me. Yeah.
Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with that.
So D-May, it's good to be back with you.
Oh man, it's
a beautiful day outside.
It is. And what better day that we are back together than on a beautiful day like this?
So we have we've been spread out across the 102.5 The Game Galaxy. We have shuffled the deck this week. We're doing a little shake up, which is always fun, shake it up a little bit. But Adam and I had a shift earlier this week for a couple of days. You and I have got the next couple of days, and we'll be reunited. Yes.
And it feels
just like Peaches
so
and Herb
good.
sang back in the day. That will happen on Friday. We'll be back at the regular time, regular group, and we'll take it to the bank and all that.
My demeanor's changed a little bit, man. I'm wearing sunglasses now. You know, I mean, the afternoon drive time show did something to me, man.
Yeah, get to sleep in a little bit more.
Yeah, got to sleep in. Yeah. Now I feel refreshed and got my sunglasses on. Stardom is big in the drive time show, man.
Yes.
You got to wear your sunglasses. So there you go.
Well, we're going to start off.
Hopefully I did Jared proud yesterday. He and Jake.
Yes.
During that time flopped.
Yeah. We all pick up the slack for one another. And so what we're going to do is do a number of different things today. During our show, or during the afternoon yesterday, the Pete Rose decision was made. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. My friend Tyler Kepner, who writes, he's a former Commodore himself. He writes now for The Athletic. He has covered Pete Rose for a long, long time. And we'll talk about baseball's decision to lift the lifetime ban. Of course, Pete Rose passed away 7 months ago, so that's part of the equation here. We'll get D-Mace's opinion on it, being a guy that has been up for the Hall of Fame nomination in his sport for a long time, and what he thinks of this process. It's fascinating. Anytime you want to get some good sports talk going, bring up the name Pete Rose, and you're in.
It's Pete Rose, Michael Jordan, and LeBron.
Oh, yeah. Those are among the topics that you always get plenty of discussion. Also, we'll talk to Jonathan Hutton at 1 o'clock today. We'll go around the horn with him in football, but we're going to start off with something a little different, a little unique. It's graduation day today over at Vanderbilt. And so this young man we're about to have on is the ace reliever for Tim Corbin's deep bullpen over at Vanderbilt. If you've been following the show, they're coming off a really big weekend series win in Knoxville against the University of Tennessee. They've got a big series with Kentucky starting tomorrow. And Sawyer Hawks is a senior on the team, and he just graduated this morning from Vanderbilt. So first off, Sawyer, I know it's really tough for you to weigh the prestige of getting your Vanderbilt diploma and coming on with myself and Derek Mason. I mean, that's a tough thing. What's bigger in your world right now?
I mean, really, it's a toss-up. I think coming on with you guys definitely takes the cake for me. It's an honor to be on, but I mean, graduating today was awesome. So yeah, it's been a good day.
So what was it like this morning? What was the wake-up call? What time did you have to be there? How was the speaker? All of that.
So it was just kind of it was just a baseball graduation, which was really nice. So there was I think there was 9 of us that graduated, including some managers and some assistants that help out around the team that finally got their degree. And it was at 9 a.m. So we had to get there about 8:15 to take some pictures and kind of run through it, get the whole ordeal, and we were out of there by 10, so it wasn't bad at all. It was a good little celebration.
Yeah, not bad. So is that the only celebration you'll do? Did you do something on a bigger scale with the rest of your graduating class? Or I know it's tough because you're juggling that and the baseball part of it.
Right. Yeah, we did a little senior dinner last night for us, where our families kind of came. Corbs gave us a little a framed jersey and a nice bat, and had some kind words to say about each of us. And the whole team was there, and they catered some food and stuff. So that's probably about the only thing we'll do. And throughout the weekend, they'll have a little pop out for a half inning and get a round of applause from the fans or whatnot, and just kind of get celebrated in that aspect. But there isn't anything too big for us. It's kind of just we're focusing on what we got left in the season.
Now, how was now that graduation is out of the way for you, Hawk? But prior to that, the big series you guys had this weekend, how was that for you? Being able to take two out of the three games, and it's first time you guys have taken a series from UT at their place. So how was that for you?
I had a blast. I mean, I think for us going in there, the seniors that have been on this team hadn't won a series yet against Tennessee in their time here. And for us to be able to go into their field to Knoxville and take 2 out of 3, especially after losing Friday and then taking the next 2, I think everybody was really pumped up about that. And we were all, we're all in the right mindset right now. We're all in the right place. We're just playing for the guy next to you and doing the best we can for each other. And that was, it was good to go in there and beat those guys. So
now you are a transfer from Air Force. So how has this year been for you? I'm sure it's a far cry from being on a military campus. Now you're here at Vandy, but how has it been for you this whole year?
It's been good. It's been good. So I transferred over here last year, and last year I threw a couple innings and then got hurt. So that year was kind of I want to say it kind of made the transition easier in a sense, because I had a year to kind of just focus on my rehab and stuff like that and kind of get my feet under the ground where I can come in this year and attack it. And this year's been great. Been throwing a lot, which is nice, but just being able to be a part of a team, especially as a senior and especially as a leader, where you can kind of take the team by the reins and make it how you like to make it. And I feel like my senior class and the guys around me, we've done a great job at creating a pretty healthy environment where we're all just kind of dedicated and focused on one thing, and that's winning ball games. And it's been great this year.
We'll talk with Sawyer Hawk, Vanderbilt's baseball player. So what advice would you give individuals, because you've seen this, guys and girls transferring, getting in the portal? You hear all the good stories, but you don't hear, behind the scenes, some of the bad stories that are going on. What advice would you give to a individual that's thinking about transferring?
I think you have to know what you got to know what you want out of a school. If you're transferring to a place where you're going to play and you're going to get opportunities, and that's one thing. But if you want to yourself, and for me, coming out of Air Force, I wanted to go to somewhere where I knew I was going to develop, I knew I was going to get better, and I knew it was going to be a struggle to pitch, just because Vanderbilt has always been this kind of this pitching icon, right, in the terms of college baseball. So I wanted to come to a place where I knew I would be challenged. And I think when you enter the portal, you have to realize that, it's a risk, right? You're putting all your chips in and going to a different school, and, some things might not work out the way you want. I didn't want to get hurt last year. I didn't want to have to kind of wanted to transfer over and help out the team. But you got to realize that it's a new experience in life, and you've got to take it and roll with it and go with the flow. And I think for advice, just kind of know what you want out of it and know what you're looking for.
Sawyer Hawks is with us. Vanderbilt, I call him, in my mind, a fireman. That's kind of an old school term, because closer to me means you just come in for the ninth inning in a save situation. But Sawyer, as we've seen, you come in whenever you're needed and you can finish the game. That's kind of old school, old Raleigh Fingers or Goose Gossage guys I grew up watching a lot. But I'm curious about the Air Force part of this, because that's something I'm not really familiar with. Air Force has got a really good baseball program, as we've learned the last few years. But what was that experience like? And you know, the flight part of it, and your decision out of high school to go to a place like that. What was that experience? What did that help shape you?
Yeah, I think coming out of high school, that was really my only Division I offer. So coming out of high school and knowing that, you know, this is only my D1 offer, so I need to pick a place where I can have kind of this sustained success in future that a job like the Air Force and like the military would offer. And that was kind of my mindset coming out of high school, was to go to some place that would set me up for the future. And Air Force, I mean, did that to a T. It was an incredible experience. It was challenging. It was difficult, but the lessons and the values you take from a place like that can only help benefit your life. You know, I've learned so much about hard work, about what it means to help others and push others, and kind of understand a team role in that aspect. Because I mean, as a military and as a Air Force, you know, kind of squadron that we were in, it's pretty you're just pretty focused on helping the guy next to you and helping you know, your country at the end of the day. And that was kind of something that I took from me coming to a school like this, was just being able to communicate, being able to vocalize what you want in terms of a team. And yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I really appreciated it.
This may be a really stupid question, but I am a huge fan of the movie Top Gun. This is another one of my D-Mate's the same age, right? We can all remember that movie first came out. But so did you fly planes? Like, what did you train for that? Was that part of it, or is that why you went there, or was there other aspects of it that, or more of the baseball part of it?
I mean, I was just going there for a good education and to play baseball, but that is something that is offered there. The summers at Air Force are broken up into different programs and different quarters. So as a freshman, you can either jump out of planes and take like a parachuting class. You can do like a flying thing where you fly little planes around and kind of learn how to do that. Or you can do RPAs, which are remotely piloted aircrafts, which are like the big drones that you guys see. And I actually opted for that one just because my GPA, my first semester wasn't great. So I didn't necessarily qualify for jump and for flight. So I did some RPAs and I got kind of into that. But I don't think flying was necessarily a thing that attracted me more as just the school and the baseball. But it was definitely cool just to be around it.
Speaking of the baseball, I believe you were a teammate of Paul Skeens back in 2022. It's amazing to watch his pathway to where he was. I was just watching him against the Mets the other day, pitch for the Pirates. But what was he like when you arrived on the campus with him?
I mean, he's a very steady individual. He's you know, always been very professional, but he's a really good dude. And he was super nice to me whenever I was coming in as a freshman. He was a sophomore, and I mean, I know all of us that were on that Air Force team that were with him and played with him were super happy for him when he transferred, just because we knew, you know, kind of the talent, and we knew that he could do big things. I don't know if we necessarily knew what he'd be doing now. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable, but it's, I mean, we're super happy for him and proud for him, and he's doing awesome, and I'm excited to keep watching him grow.
So let's fast forward to this season, because it's really been fun to watch. Me as a former player for Vanderbilt, and I've watched these teams year in and year out, but this team seems pretty unique to me, Sawyer, because I think, you know, it's not loaded right now with guys that you know are first round picks, hands down, like a Sonny Gray or a David Price at the top of the first round. But collectively, you guys as a pitching staff, it seems like each week you get more solidified and more confident with everybody who goes out there.
Yeah, I think we understand our strengths and our weaknesses really well, and we kind of work together, and we're all pulling for each other. That's something out there that you might not see a lot in college athletics as it is today, where, you know, if you're not playing or not pitching, you're upset. I think when somebody goes out there for us, we are excited for them to do well, and we want them to do well. And I think we all, you know, there's this kind of unity that bonds us as a staff and as a team. We're all fighting for the same goal and doing something that hasn't been done in this program in a while. We're trying to reestablish its dominance, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. We're playing well. So I think each time we go out there, and everybody that rolls out there on the mound has this kind of confidence that, you know, we are good, and we are a team that can do special things. So
what is Scott Brown done for you specifically? What have you and he worked on to take you to another level? Because I'm sure that's always part of it in this day and age with all the technology and the research you can do on what you do with the ball. Taking that and taking it out to the field are two different things. So how was that process for you where you've made a big leap in your career?
Yeah, Bronny's definitely helped me with a lot of stuff in terms of, pitching different pitches. I came in here with a fastball and a curveball pretty much from Air Force was pretty raw, and he's kind of refined me in a sense. I got a changeup, I got a slider now that I can all kind of throw for strikes. But I think the one thing that Brownie's definitely helped me with was developing a routine and being consistent with that routine. I think at Air Force, I was pretty much just, do some bands and go out there and throw. And that was kind of how I approached my throwing and pitching. And from Brownie, I've picked up a lot of different things that can help me in my day-to-day life, that I've been able to kind of establish a routine. And it's definitely helped me be a lot more consistent.
Now, from what I'm told, you're always right in the middle of, pepping people up in the dugout, part of, rallying everybody together. I'm sure it was unique over the weekend when you play at a place like Tennessee, which is such a hornet's nest. The crowd's right on top of you. You know how much Tennessee plays with the bravado. Being able to be enthusiastic, but keep that level head, that balance between, because when Tennessee plays the way they do, I don't think it's any secret that, it elicits a response. You have to figure out what that response is going to be and channel it in the right way. So what was that like for you, both when you were on the mound and also in the dugout, as you guys as a team are trying to get through this and have success?
Yeah, I think Tennessee plays with a chip on their shoulder, and they have a certain way of going about things, and how they act, in a sense, I think seems to kind of want to incite you to do certain things and rile them up and continue to kind of go down their path. And we were kind of just wanting to stay with us, stay on our side, root for us, play the game the right way, and good things will come from that. So I think focusing on that as a team, and when I was on the mound, I mean, obviously I think my second pitch got cranked over the wall, and then my fourth pitch got cranked over the wall. So I was like, good Lord, I'm out here, struggling, but it is what it is. And
I thought you showed some good mental toughness there, because that is where it's easy to let things unravel, but you brought it back in.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, right? You're not going to just go out there and just continue to let it unravel. I mean, you got to kind of bear down in a sense, mentally and physically, and just say, you know what, this is all they're getting. That's it. So I think going out there with that mindset, just to be able to play our game, focus on ourselves, and let the game come to us, and good things will happen.
Sawyer, we'll let you go on this, but Sawyer Hawks, by the way, is our guest. 4-0, 1.67 ERA with 6 saves for the Commodores here. You guys have Kentucky, and it's a big series. Kentucky's been playing really well. They had a great season last year. I know with every game here, you guys can keep working towards really good goals of being able to secure some home field advantage. So as you guys transition out of the school year, you got your graduation, what's the focus for Kentucky?
I mean, Kentucky's a really good team. It's an SEC opponent, and this year every SEC opponent is pretty amazing, and that's been something for me to realize going out there and pitching against these guys is, you can't leave stuff down the middle against anybody. They're really good, but I think for us, like I said, and I'll continue to reiterate it, we're just focusing on ourselves. We understand where we are in the SEC and in the conference, and we know as a team that a couple more wins can lock up something really good for us. And we would love to be at home, but I think for us, it's just getting better every day, just continuing to focus on playing good baseball and going out there and let the results kind of take care of themselves, and where the chips fall and where we are in the standings and where we are for the regionals, the supers, whatnot. I think we're kind of just focused on day-to-day progression, and that's a good spot to be in, I believe.
Well, Sawyer, I know it's been a big day for you. Thanks a lot for spending a few minutes with us. Congratulations on getting the degree. Congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, and good luck in the coming weeks. Let's hope that this season's going to go on for a while, and someday maybe you look back on your graduation day, you say, hey, I remember going on a radio show with those guys. Who were those guys anyway? But Sawyer, good luck to you. We'll be watching this weekend.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Is this Willie that I'm talking to?
Yes, this is Willie. We got D. Mace over here too. Derek Mason,
Absolutely,
former Titan
right
and Raven wide receiver.
Okay, that's awesome. I appreciate you guys. Also, Forbes texted me and said that he was understanding that I was doing a radio show, and he just wanted to, we wanted to express that your wife, Erin, we know she's battling some cancer, and I've been through some stuff like that before, and I realize that it's tough. So that we're all thinking of you and praying for that. So I just wanted to end off with that, and thank you guys so much for having me on. It's been an honor. So.
Well, sorry, that's really nice of you to say. And Corbs and a lot of guys in your group that I know England Brian in particular, your teammate. We've known England for a long time. He and my son played together growing up. Everybody's looking out for her, so that's it's really, really nice of you to say.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, I really appreciate it, and I'm keeping her in my prayers, and thank you guys so much.
You got it. All right, Sawyer Hawks. He is the ace reliever for Tim Corbin and the Vanderbilt Commodores. They've got Kentucky Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Hawkins Field.
Series.
No question. All right, just getting started on DVD. At 1 o'clock, we will be talking with Jonathan Hutton. And so we got a lot going on here. We've got a big night in the NBA playoffs. Last night, the NHL playoffs are going on as well. There's a big game tonight as we start to whittle the field down and move on to the conference finals. Stay tuned. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game. You got a lot.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal or some type of resolution to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. Listen, but I got some news for you, because I got some solutions. Because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and then that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain. See, even me, David, I want to lose some weight. So I set up my appointment for next Wednesday to go in for a consultation to let me know some things I need to do and the way I need to eat to drop some of this weight and sustain it and keep it off. So even yours truly, a former pro athlete, needs to drop some weight. So when you need to drop it, it's not a bad thing either. We all at one point in time needs to drop a few pounds. So their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. And I know they will customize one for me, and I will tell you all about it after next Wednesday. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
here's where I think, Willie, it's going to get tricky for Hunter. Is they're not going to pay him as a receiver and a defensive back. And so, it's no different. Like, look, we've seen Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's been one of the best corners in the NFL. Well, now he's moving to safety. He's trying to elongate his career to maximize his earning potential as a player in the National Football League. And so, look, when you play 60 snaps a game, that's very different than playing 80 snaps a game. It just is over time when you're playing a 17 and who knows, maybe an 18-game season and all of that stuff. And so as you're Travis Hunter and you're looking at it and you go, wait a minute, okay, so let's say he's a receiver. I'm getting paid as one of the elite receivers in the NFL, but I'm playing 45 snaps a game more than that other guy, and the average NFL career is 3 years. Like, what am I doing? Like, yes, I can do this, but is it really worth it? Look, Champ Bailey, if he wanted to, could have played corner and receiver. He's a teammate of mine in Washington, and oh my word, like he was unbelievable. And he did play some offensive snaps, but it wasn't many. And so, I guess I would just say that, like, can he do it? Yeah, he probably can do it for a little while, but he's going to end up looking at it and say, is this really the best deal? And, Willie, this, especially in baseball, think about the guys that, like, hey, they were catchers, right? But hey, let's get him, out from behind the dish there,
right,
so that he can play longer. It's really no different than that. And I think ultimately that will, outweigh the idea of playing on both sides of the ball.
That was Tim Hasselbeck on our show yesterday talking about Travis Hunter and the practicality, the logistics of being a true two-way player in the NFL today. Not only are they going to try it, but if you listen to what's coming out of Jacksonville, remember Jacksonville is one of the smallest markets in the NFL. They're leaning into it and marketing Travis Hunter being the NFL's next star before he's ever even tried to do this. And I really wanted to get D-Mace's take on that. You heard Tim Hasselbeck. He had a really funny lead into that answer, D-Mace, and he was talking about, he called it the Jacksonville hype train, where they're hyping this up and they're putting it out there. In fact, the headline is, why Travis Hunter, this is on the ESPN website from their beat writer, basically their Teron Davenport, why Travis Hunter is ready to become the NFL star as the first full-time two-way player in 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's putting it out there, right? Travis Hunter, I don't know if he said, hey, go ahead. I'm going to do it. Let's talk about it. Let's put it out there. Let's be about it. Tim mentioned the money part of it. Getting paid as a two-way star could be a really interesting contractual angle, which I don't know if that should be driving things. Mm-hmm. But give me your thoughts as you hear Tim put together. We discussed this some. If you draft Travis Hunter, what's the practicality of actually making this happen on both sides? It's not easy, but Jacksonville's not only saying we're going to do it, but he's going to be a two-way star unlike anything we've seen in 60 years. And it's a rookie minicamp.
They said that he will push the boundaries of the NFL. And when you say something like that those words, you just don't flippantly throw it out there, because, you use phrases like that when you're talking about like worldly things or science, stuff like that. You don't hear, well, I haven't heard ever, I don't think, he will push the boundaries of the world of the NFL. That's saying what he essentially said, because again, I've never heard this phrase used when describing an individual, Willie. And I've been watching football, I'm 51 years old. I've been watching football for at least 40 years. Following it for at least 40 years. So I've never heard that phrase. And I've seen some great players, Bo Jackson, Deion,
Tim mentioned Champ Bailey.
I'm just talking about
in baseball.
athletes.
I brought up Shohei Ohtani and I watched Bo Jackson as well, and Dion, who was not only a great, player in different facets in football, but also was playing some baseball at the time. Those guys are incredible for sure.
The kid he's a Hall of Famer now, big defensive end that played for Carolina.
Julius Peppers.
A two-way sport. He could have played basketball on the NBA level, but he chose to go the football route. Even with him, his athletic prowess, no one has ever uttered the words, he will push the limits of the NFL. Nobody's ever uttered those words. So when you say that, I'm trying to figure out what are they really trying to do here? Because I did like what Travis Henry said at the end. He said, man, I'm just going out here and I'm playing football. I'm not setting no expectations high. I'm just going out here, do what I need to do, help the team in any way I feel I can help, and learn and develop each and every year, or learn to develop as I go. So he's like, man, I'm just coming in here. Why? In a sense, it's like, why are y'all doing this? Like, are y'all doing this for me, or y'all doing this for y'all?
That's a huge question, I think, because I'm really wondering as they progress with this and as they try to figure out how is this going. Tim made and this would be a good thing to bounce off you. Going to the practicality. It might sound like a great idea. Let's use him. He's a great athlete. He's a great football player. He can do this. So let's dive all in and let's learn the offense and the defense, and let's have him out there as much as we can. He was talking about how hard it is to really master the offense and all the routes and everything with every play and know the defense. Whereas and you've said this from the start, it'd be better to be a regular defender and then learn a portion, a slice of the offense that you can really master rather than try to know everything on both sides.
Yeah, and here, don't make no mistake about this. There's a reason why he chose to play wide receiver. They make more money. Frankly,
Right.
No, seriously.
Yes.
They make more money on average than a defensive back does. And I'm not talking about safeties. I'm just talking about defensive backs. So he understands that I am good on both sides of the ball. I'm going to go the offensive route. Why? Because they pay me more money. I think that's essentially why he's choosing, and they get a little bit more of the glamour. Defensive backs ain't getting that much of airtime unless you're getting burned or you make an interception, and run it in for a touchdown, or you just one of those very few lockdown corners that we have had, throughout the history of football. But he understands that the money is on the offensive side of the ball, so I'm going to play offense. Listen, the minute you say, well, Travis Hunter can't do it, people say you're hating on him. Even if guys that have played the sport for many, many years say it's hard to do, it's hard to sustain. Not that he can do it, but is it sustainable?
That's what comes back to what you just brought up, was as the Jaguars try to say, what's the maximum I can get out of Travis Hunter for the team? And Travis Hunter, what's my best pathway to success for the longest term at the highest level of success? I wonder how long it will be before they decide this is too much. And is it too much to start off diving into the deep end on both sides? Because as you said, there's an early benefit to it because it's going to get attention. This is a franchise that needs to sell tickets. They haven't had a lot of success. No. They need something that's going to have people say, I got to go see this guy play. Well, what better? Hey, let's see if a guy can pull it off. So that's a reason to do it, but that may not be the best thing for both sides long term. Same thing with Travis Hunter. If I'm getting attention for this, if I'm doing something that hasn't been done basically in 3 generations, that's going to be good for me. I'm going to get attention for that. But if you burn out, like Bo Jackson was doing fine in both sports for a while, but his body couldn't hold up.
Exactly. He ended up getting hurt. And I know it was a freak accident with Bo, but I think eventually he would have had to choose one or the other. He was going to have to do it because that's why Deion Sanders eventually chose one over the other, right? Because the back and forth you just can't do it, not at that level. So, but we're talking offense and defense. My thing is, listen, I think the young man's going to be a very good player. Um, can you, if it was up to me, I would have him play defense and I would give him 15 to 20 plays on offense. And if he's rolling or if our defense is getting three and outs, then I may implore him more on the offensive end. But that is dictated game by game. It's not, oh, we're going to play you 40 plays here, 40. No, it's going to be, how's this game going? Okay, we're doing good on defense. We're beating the team by, 3 touchdowns. Let's put him on offense more now, and kind of save him for the defense. We don't want you tackling anybody or all this other stuff. We'll save you on defense. I think you can do it in that manner. But if you try to implore this, oh, he's going to play, 50 snaps on offense and 50 snaps on defense. Yes, he can do it. But for how long? Again, I guys in the regular, like just the regular person out there watching television and watching a game, those that haven't played the sport, they don't understand how hard it is from the college level to the NFL level. Some guys have made it look easy. I get that. But I am talking about the war of attrition. When we get into week 8, 9, 10, your body starts to break down. You can do, I've seen, man, Eddie George did just about any and everything to get himself ready. Ray Lewis, all those guys. But at the end of the game, they were beat up. Didn't matter. And it took them days. Why do you think they give us, we don't practice on Monday if we have a Sunday game. We don't practice on Monday. It's a shakeout. We don't work on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, they try to ease us back into it. Ask any player. It's not until Thursday till our bodies start really feeling good. And then Friday is like, okay. But then Friday is a tailored down practice. Everything is sliced down because it's Friday. It's third down day. It's red zone day. So everything is tapered down. We're not out there as long. So it takes you until Thursday to get your body back so you can play the next following week. And that is if you don't have an injury. You just been beat up. People don't understand that, and I don't understand. I get why, because if you haven't done it, it's like, oh, it's easy. He did it in college. The step from college to the pros is a big step. That's why I take guys 2-3 years to develop.
So 2 things to this, and I want to get some feedback on this from our listeners. 615-737-1025. Call or text our phone text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. A, do you think he can do it? B, for how long? And then the other part of this is if you're a Titans fan, you're probably hoping this doesn't go right. You're probably hoping they do everything Jaguar style. Go in, hype it up, overhype it, over promise, under deliver, and they have to decide which side of the ball he's better off playing on. Maybe he doesn't like it. Maybe he gets to the contract. So these are all things that if you're competing against them, you don't want him to be that one superstar, never before seen guy. It remains to be seen if they can pull it off. But we're all curious. So what do you think? 615-737-1025. D. Mace, Adam Vingan, Willie Donick, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Your calls and texts on this. When we come back, Jonathan Hutton will weigh in at 1 o'clock. So stay tuned. You're listening to 1025 The Game. Oh, this is a classic right here. David James knows how to get our attention with the music coming back. This is DVD 1025 The Game.
The Beastie Boys.
Oh, yeah. Who didn't have this tape in the mid-'80s? Along with
I had the CD with the back of the airplane. Oh, that was
everybody
so
had it.
Everybody had it.
And then there was the Run DMC with It's Tricky.
Yeah.
UB Illin was on there.
Illin.
Not to be confused with the Beastie Boys'
mm.
License to Ill, which everybody had the tape. But those were the two go-to tapes.
Yes.
I told you about this guy, Jared Bowie, one of my good friends in high school. He knew every word to every song on both of the albums. And during our history class, he would like whisper the lyrics, and the teacher had to say, "Jared, we got to get some work done, man." I would be sitting next to him, I'd be laughing, and I was like, "Jared, we got to get our work done, man. Come on, you're killing me."
Oh man!
But here's a news piece that we just came across.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens have re-upped with Derrick Henry. 2 years. That averages $15 million per year, the most ever for a running back over 30 years old. So once again, we just talked about Travis Henry. They're hoping in Jacksonville that he's a guy.
Travis Hunter, you mean?
Travis Henry. Travis Henry. I'm mixing the worlds of back in the day. Travis Henry was a pretty good running back back in his day, not Derrick Henry. Travis Hunter, they're hoping, is that guy who is different than anybody else, just a different bird. Time will tell. Derrick Henry, especially last year, I knew he would do well. I did not think he would dominate the way he did. And now they've got him for 2 more years. They have a vision of how to use him. They have Lamar Jackson, who offsets the pressure that they put on him. It could not have worked better for the Ravens, other than not winning the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
But now you can see him having 2 more big years.
Yeah.
I can see that. Whereas when he left here, I thought he's going to do okay. He's going to be on the right team, but I didn't think he would be this impactful.
Well, I knew by him going to Baltimore, that offensive line was much better than it was here. And I'm not saying that, throughout his career, he had a bad offensive line, because he didn't. He had one of the best offensive lines that have ever, been assembled here in Nashville. But toward the end of his career here, the offensive line wasn't as good. But I knew him going to Baltimore, you knew he had a lot left, but it just came to an end here. The team wasn't going anywhere, so he had to go somewhere to hopefully win a Super Bowl. And he landed in a place that has been very good to former Titans. So he's going there. And this is why I knew, one of the reasons I knew he was going to have some success outside of the organization and Lamar. They didn't ask him that he didn't have to be the guy that win games for him. He didn't have to shoulder the load of the team wins each and every week. He had to do that here. And I think that would have ran him down quicker than anything, because they would have just rolled his back until they couldn't do it no more. It's not like that in Baltimore. He's one of 3 or 4 guys that helps them win. And then the bulk of it is on the shoulders of Lamar Jackson, where it rightfully should be. So he can go in there each and every game and play football, and don't have to worry about, oh man, if I don't have a 100-yard game, then we're going to lose. Or if I don't have, 2 touchdowns at 150, we have no shot at winning. It's not like that in Baltimore. So you're able to preserve your career. So we were discussing it, and maybe we can discuss this with Hut too.
Yeah.
Can Barry Sanders, Derrick Henry, get himself within the top 5, that atmosphere only 5 guys are at right now? Can he get himself inside that 5? Can he drop the great Barry Sanders from the number 5 spot and make him number 6?
That is a great question that I would have thought the answer would have been no. When they left, when the Titans moved on from Derrick Henry, I felt, and I still feel today, that was the right time to move on at that stage of his career and at that point in time for the Titans. I thought that was the right thing to start a new chapter. And it wasn't that I thought Derrick Henry was washed up, but I would have been lying if I told you I thought he could get 1,921 yards. his last year with the Titans, he had 280 carries, which led the NFL. He had 325 last year, which is more like how the Titans were using him. So I didn't think he would have that many carries for the Ravens.
But I don't think it's not necessarily.
Was it more like stress-free carries?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Is that a way to put it?
Yes,
like not as many,
exactly.
like not as many punishing carries?
Absolutely, because everybody understands that. Listen, we got to worry about Lamar too.
Yes.
And it's not like, Derek's in the backfield, so we need to 100% put our attention toward Derek in the run game. No, we got to watch out for the quarterback. He didn't have that luxury here in Nashville. It was him in the backfield, and it was the team paying 100% attention to him in the run game. It's not like that in Baltimore. So it's sort of stress-free, as you would say.
As we set the table for Jonathan Hutton, we'll lead with this topic for him. He's got 11,423 yards, and he ranks 19th all time in just straight up yards.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where I thought, borderline Hall of Fame needs more. So he's got that. He had the other big year. I think he's now very much in the
he's
in the Hall of Fame,
he's
discussion. Even if he didn't play again, I think he'd be in the discussion. Now that we know he's very likely to have another year or two with some production. The question is how high. You mentioned Barry Sanders. He's fourth at 15,269. And we know Barry Sanders could have kept going.
Yes.
He could have kept going. He stepped away when he was still
after
really
10
good.
years.
Yes. Then you've got number 3 is Frank Gore at an even 16,000. Frank Gore.
Frank Gore played like 18 years.
Yeah.
2005 through 2020 for 5 different teams. His big thing was he didn't blow you away with a lot of great individual seasons, but he always was contributing for somebody. And so over time, the volume was there. Then you have 2 all-time greats. Walter Payton at number 2, who held the record for a long time, 16,726, and then Emmitt Smith, who passed him, 18,355. It's a stretch if you think Derrick Henry is going to get up into that echelon, but he's going to pass a lot of people. Even in the next year, he's going to shoot up into the top 10. Because we know if he has any kind of year, he's going to have another 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. That's going to move him way up there. But if he has another monster year and then another good year on top of that, we're talking top 5.
Yes. And then if we were joking, if indeed, because I think he's a Hall of Famer now. Now, will he get in first ballot? Probably not, but I think he's bona fide Hall of Fame. You just look at his career. He's been the best runner of the football since he became a starter with the Titans in the NFL. And I'm not saying he's the best running back, but he's the best runner. But if you look at it, if he reaches that threshold of that number 5, he pushes Barry down to 6, he jumps to that number 5.
Sanders is 4, Adrian Peterson is 5, 14,918. So if he could get to 15,000,
yes,
that would be top 5. Now that would be 3,500 and
he needs a little bit over
500 and
yards,
change. 3,500 and change. So 1,700 a year.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing that says he can't play after 2 more years. Yeah. That's what Emmitt did. He padded. He wasn't a great running back. He was with the Cardinals, remember? But he got extra yards.
Have 1,000 yards doing with the Cardinals, didn't he?
He might have, but he was out there. He was getting yards.
He played for 2 seasons?
He passed Walter Payton when he was still on the Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he still on the Cowboys when he passed?
No.
Walter Payton? Or was he with the Cardinals when he passed?
Yeah, I think it was with the Cardinals.
Hold on.
Okay.
It may have been it may have been the Cardinals.
Emmitt Smith played 2 years with the Cardinals.
Uh-huh.
And he had 256.
So he did have.
No, so
937.
Yeah, the 937
at a 35. I think he had already passed. I think he passed Walter Payton
in Dallas
in 2002 with Dallas. I think.
So I'm looking at it. He has 2,000 more yards than Walter. So I would think it.
So he did it when he was with the Cowboys. That last year with the Cowboys, he did it, and then they released him, and that's when he went to Arizona. But if Derek wins a Super Bowl and he gets into that top 5, he's first ballot Hall of Famer. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. But then you ask the important question, the pivotal question. He wins a Super Bowl. He's first ballot.
Does
People
he
don't wanna-
retire?
Yeah,
as a-
people don't want to hear it.
That would bring up a sore spot.
if he went get to a Super Bowl or win the well, it will be win the Super Bowl, really. But if he gets to a Super Bowl, yeah, that's gonna be a question. that's
will
gonna
be
be
a
a question. Yes.
All right, we'll ask that question to Jonathan Hutton when we come back. We'll talk some football with him. We'll even mix in a little Tennessee Vanderbilt rivalry with him as well. We've got a lot to talk about here on DVD. And so you're listening to 102.5 The Game. Remember, we're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. All right, we'll be back to, quote, full strength on Friday. Our full team, DVD, will be with us. Adam will rejoin us. We'll have our normal regular hours from 11 to 2, and that means at 1:45 on Friday, we take it to the bank with F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. They do such great work in our listening area. They've got 20 locations. Just go to myfmbank.com and find the nearest one to you. They've got the tools for success. For example, if you're out there and you're just looking for a simple way to save some money, maybe you're looking to sort of jumpstart a savings account, look no further than the Smart Swipe debit card. Every purchase you make with that debit card, they're going to round up to the nearest dollar. So if you spend $5.50, they're going to take 50 cents and round it up to $6, put the 50 cents in your savings account. So without even thinking, just use your card, make your regular day-to-day purchases. You're going to accumulate money in your savings account. So over time, you build that up. Just a simple tool. And that's the motto of F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Just go to myfmbank.com. Check out the nearest location. They're a member FDIC, equal housing lender. We'll take it to the bank Friday at 1:45. Hour number 2 of DVD here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you. Adam Vingan is doing some morning show duties as we spread the wealth. We spread the love across the 102.5 The Game galaxy as we are picking up the slack with the vacationing Jared Stillman. The things we do for Jared D. Mace, aren't we nice?
Yes.
Aren't we nice to that guy?
I mean, listen.
I mean, we pick up the slack. We
slack.
bring in top-end talent to replace him in the afternoon.
Talent. See, we
sacrifice one of our brothers.
Listen,
we move him off.
This is what happens, and I'm messing with him, and I'm gonna mess with him. Oh, I was thinking about this, and we have Hutton, right?
Yeah, Hutton's on with us. Jonathan Hutton's going to join us in a sec here.
So this is what happened when the golden child leaves and go. Then everybody got to switch and do what they need to. Like, okay, you got to move over here. You got to go. Okay, you take this show. Because the Golden Boys, he's gone.
Yeah,
you know. When you do your show by yourself, man, when you leave, everybody else got to kind of maneuver what they're doing. So, but no, I'm just joking with Jared. But yeah, we had to move around, and we did a good job at it.
Now, how did it go yesterday, David, with Kuharski and Rex Road? That's who. Isn't that who was filming
That's
today.
Oh, that's coming up today.
That's
yeah.
today. Right after the show, we got Kuharski and Rex Road.
So that could be interesting. Yeah. Those two are filling Jared's slot. I can. We only can speculate on what will be discussed. But another guy who made a nice adjustment for us today with our different time slot is Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. I just totally blanked on the name of the show for just a second here. But Jonathan, thanks for coming on and thanks for sliding with us here.
Yeah, absolutely. And PK in the afternoon, he was coming in hot. He pissed off for greatness.
Oh, wow. So you know this for sure. He's coming in hot.
Yeah, he's pissed off for greatness will be the slogan today of that show.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm sure neither Joe nor Paul have any issue with anything Jared has said in the last week. Nothing. But
and by the way, we all know that Stillman is listening to the station 24/7 on vacation.
Yeah, so he will be monitoring. Yes.
Hey, Jared.
It's like, dude, enjoy your vacation with your family, man. Turn the radio off, okay?
I don't know how that guy has enough time to pull the audio that he does.
Exactly.
I mean, it's incredible. He's constantly listening to everything. You know, I've told him that too.
Oh, man.
Hut, right before you came on, the Ravens released that they have re-upped with Derrick Henry for 2 years, $15 million. And it's not just that. It's the note at the end of it that this is the most anybody's ever invested in a running back who is Derrick Henry's age. But this is what the argument was throughout his tenure with the Titans. Derrick Henry is not like other running backs historically. So what did you think of that deal when you saw it?
Yeah, look, was it a 2-year deal originally with Baltimore for 12 or 13? Look, I mean, he's still playing at such a high level. It's hard to see him slowing down over 2 years to the point where he wouldn't still be a running back that would be top 5. I would just put that out there at worst. And he's been for several years the most dominant back in the NFL over a span of seasons. He's the first NFL running back in the history of the league to have 2 different 1,900-yard seasons. And he's the reason why Baltimore continues to be a favorite in the AFC. He is motivated to win a Super Bowl. He wants to be a Hall of Fame back. He's a great leader. He possesses not just the size and the skill set. He has the intangibles that you want in a player at that spot too. I've always been impressed with him. There's no reason to doubt him, and I haven't. Baltimore, it takes them to another level with him and Lamar. And look at what Lamar did. Look at the numbers that Lamar put up last season with Derrick Henry pressing for a 2,000-yard season again in November. It was around Thanksgiving, and you had him and Saquon going for it. Things slowed down, but Lamar's throwing for 4,000 yards. It's remarkable.
Yeah, they've been able to just add another dimension to what they can do from an offensive standpoint, because that was a high-powered offense, before Derrick got it there. Now it's become, I don't know if you can make it any better, but they found a way to do it, because now you got to pay attention to not only the quarterback, but arguably the best runner over the last 6 or 7 years that we've seen in the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean, so from 2017 going into the 2023 season, I just pulled this up from my notes from Titans Radio. 2017 to 2022, he led the league in 3 rushing categories: yards, touchdowns, and yards per game. He had 73 touchdowns over that span. He averaged 90 rushing yards per game, and now that he's 30 years old, he hit that number, and the decline's coming. The question is when, but it's a 2-year deal that's front loaded. Like, he's worth the money he's getting right now. We know that.
Yeah, and I was talking with David before we came on with you, and I was saying, listen, he has an opportunity. I think that the Ravens will keep him as long as he's an effective runner. And I do believe that him leaving here was probably the best thing for his career and the best thing for, I think, the sport in general, because now we get to see him play a little bit longer and not have to be worn down as much. Even Willie mentioned this. Even though he ran the ball 325 times, it wasn't like a 280 times here in Nashville when everybody knew you were getting the ball. So everybody was keying on you. In Baltimore, they know you're going to get the ball, but they got to worry just as equally about the quarterback running. So you're not getting the stress of 325 that you got with the 275 here.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you the strength and the firepower of their offense. The window's open for them.
Yeah,
I mean, that this is when they're supposed to be winning. Lamar's legacy is also going to be tied to Henry's. They look at we're talking yards and production at his age. There, among active running backs, there's not a running back in the league that's within 3,500 yards of him career. I mean, it's him, and then there's everyone else in terms of production. 2-back systems. The league has gone away from the running back and how the rosters are built right now. It's coming back based on what we saw last season, and we continue to see first-round picks at that spot. But, I mean, it also shows you no one's going to catch Emmitt Smith. No one.
No,
I mean,
it's too far out
he's got how many yards does Henry have? It's like 11,000 or something.
Yeah, and Emmett's at 18.
So Henry would have to have he'd have to play till he's 38 years old and have to have another 2,000-yard season to even come close to Emmitt Smith. I'm not even trying to put it in the same breath. I'm giving props to Emmitt and how dominant with the 18,000 plus yards that he has on his career. Henry's leading all active rushers by 3,500 yards, and he's not even close to anywhere in the realm, in the atmosphere of Emmitt Smith.
Now, if he gets in, we discussed if he gets inside of that top 5, which he would knock then Adrian Peterson down, has an opportunity to catch Barry, but that may be a longer shot. But I think he does have an opportunity, a good opportunity to get inside of that top 5. So he gets inside of the top 5. He wins the Super Bowl.
Where is he now, Mace? Do you have that
He's
list?
Like 19th. He's 19th.
He's 19th.
Yeah, but it takes nothing but probably 500 yards to get him inside the top 12.
Yeah, there's a big bunch of running backs that are
Yeah.
between Derrick Henry at 19 at 11,423 and Tony Dorsett, who is just over 1,000 yards ahead of him, 12,739. So that's all it would take.
Yeah.
One really good year
You're up there.
Will blow him past Tony Dorsett. Then you're into Eric Dickerson, about 500 yards ahead. Jerome Bettis, LaDainian Tomlinson. And so there's a little bit of a leap when you get up to Barry Sanders at 15,269. But I can see 15,000 is very gettable, I think, especially because as we talked about, he's not taking the punishment week in and week out with Baltimore because of Lamar Jackson and the support system.
And what sets him up in his biography, when you're explaining how dominant he is, he's doing this. Those names are in a running back era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's in a completely different era, but he's the throwback that he's the guy that would be in that era. And he's doing it in the passing league that is the NFL, and a quarterback league. Again, you said another good season he's catching. What's a bad season for Henry? If
that 900 yards he got in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 yards is something that
in 17 games, 1,000 yards is nothing.
Yeah, exactly. With the extra game, I'm thinking like 1,500 that he would consider that a bad year.
Well,
And
when he went to Baltimore, I said he's going to get 1,500 yards is where I put the bottom, the minimum for Derrick Henry, because
healthy. Yeah, totally
a healthy
agree.
Derrick Henry, he's going to get you 1,500 yards the next couple of seasons.
Yep.
So in
And-
theory,
and-
he can, reach
He's
that
right
threshold.
there with that list that Willie mentioned.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
if that does happen, I think he's a first ballot either way. I think the way he's run, he's a first ballot. Well, he's not a first ballot, but he's a shoe-in to make it. Now, if he wins the Super Bowl, I think he's
puts him
definite first ballot. But then here's the question. Does he retire a Raven or a Titan if he wins the Super Bowl in Baltimore?
Oh,
Man.
boy.
That's a great question. It depends how long he's there, but look, the send-off that he had, his final game at Nissan Stadium, and the speech he gave on the mic, I think he still leans back here in that moment if he's retiring after that game, Mace.
Okay.
But give him the caveat. If he wins a Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Yes, if he wins that Super Bowl with the Ravens and he breaks that, if he gets in that top 5 and
Mace,
wins the Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Mace.
Yes.
He would be in your situation.
Yeah.
How did you handle
But see,
it?
my situation was different because I wanted to come back. And I guess, frankly, they didn't want me. Let's just put it that way, because he gave me the bogus excuse, even though I had more yards than all their receivers the previous year. But he, they didn't want. So I said, okay, I signed back with Baltimore. I think he signed with Baltimore, went to the Jets. But then once I retired, there was nobody that I knew, like, in the building. Nobody.
So you're
Everybody
saying
was
the Titans
gone.
didn't want you back?
Yeah, the Titans didn't want me back. Yeah.
I don't think the Titans really pursued Henry. I mean, they
Nah.
could have restructured him in 2023.
I do think that they
But I think
could
the
have done.
send-off for him was a little bit different.
Yeah, they kept
Then-
saying that they
yeah.
were working on things, but I mean, they gave him the microphone in his final game, and he spoke to the fans.
But
mean,
I
he
think
knew-
they
he
were
knew he was
closer
out.
to trading him than they were to re-signing him. Right?
I
I think they
agree.
thought
Yeah.
the play was, this is the end of the era. We have to face the facts here. And,
And
so
what we
should
don't
we
know-
trade him rather than let him walk off into the sunset and
Yeah.
get nothing for him?
And what we don't know is his mindset too. I always viewed it through: do the Titans want Henry back? Did Henry want to come back to the situation if he's chasing a Super Bowl? Because he wants to win a title.
Probably not.
So
then, if that's the case.
what the Titans were going back into, I don't think you stay in that situation.
Yeah.
with
No,
that
you're
line.
you're absolutely right. I couldn't see him coming back under the circumstance that this organization was in, based upon their roster.
Yeah.
He did all he could for this team, and now he had to pick up his suitcase and go somewhere else and try it all over again. And he seems to be headed down a better track right now than he would have been had he stayed here
And that is one thing, Hut, that I think is interesting.
to win a
is-
championship anyway.
Right, because deep down, we don't know if Derrick Henry would have, let's say they offered him the moon to
Mhm.
stay. He could have. It's possible that he would have said, you know what? I love being a Titan, but let's face the facts. This era is over. I don't know where we're going from here. They just fired Braves.
Yep.
I'm more intrigued about going to somewhere like Baltimore.
Mhm.
And that would have looked like he left the Titans at the altar instead of the way it played out.
I mean, he knew Henry was one of the guys that knew that they weren't going to win another game when they fired Robinson in December.
Mm.
They're 7-5. That totally killed the I guess it would be the mentality of that locker room, even though they had, they're coming off the loss to Philly the way they did. And look, that's really where we saw the turn. But going into the offseason, where they fire Vrabel, they're turning their offense around to a totally different scheme. Even though they had to rely on the run more than probably we expected last year. Callahan's coming in. It's not the same Titans offense we're used to. So, go to Baltimore and ball out with Lamar Jackson. I mean, we mentioned Hall of Fame. He's a 2,000-yard season away from first ballot.
Yeah.
He would be the first player in history to have two 2,000-yard seasons. But, I mean, a Super Bowl title. I mean, look, the case speaks for itself. Kaharski will be in that room presenting him. He's the first player in NFL history. He doesn't have 2,000 yards. He has two different 1,900-yard seasons.
Mhm.
And in this era, he's the back. It's him and Saquon that will be presented in that room at some point. And that's it for running backs in this era.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
look at the names of the guys that he's passing and chasing, and then look at the names behind him and how far behind him they are in the current league.
Well, the
current
closest
game.
current guy is Ezekiel Elliott, right? As far
I
as
think that's
next
right.
to
Yeah, because
yeah,
I mean Barkley's really far behind him.
yeah, because he was injured. You
Mhm.
know, a few seasons there, but the next closest guy is Ezekiel Elliott. But yeah, so we were having that discussion, but then another one quickly.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. We've been discussing Travis Hunter, and
Yeah.
listen, Jacksonville is they're shooting for the moon here. And I'm not sure if this is going to backfire or not, but I'm not sure if Travis. How do you feel about them pushing Travis and him wanting to play both sides and doing it every game?
I mean, I think we both we disagree, but we both acknowledge he's not going to play every snap both sides,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
I'm thrilled that we have a player doing this. If you draft him, you absolutely have to play him both ways. That would be my mentality.
Mhm.
I love that Jacksonville jumped on this because if we're talking, franchise type players, players that can turn around a team, this guy does that. Now, does he turn around Jacksonville's roster? We'll see. Do you play him more at corner or wide receiver? I think Jacksonville has to look at this going wide receiver because it's all about Trevor Lawrence. And they need help at both spots. They got the player that can help them. I tend to think, Mason, you can correct me.
Mm-hmm.
I would have him focus more on wide receiver and then let him go and play man, just go play one-on-one with a wide receiver in a 2-minute type situation at a corner, I'm saying, or late in a game or a big situation, big passing down situation, whatever it might be. That's what I would do early on. But, many thought he was a better corner than wide receiver. The Titans did. The Titans admitted if they had him, he was probably going to play corner here.
I think it would have been easier for him to start off at corner. And I believe this is the best course of action for him, and you can get the most out of him. You play him at corner, and then you have 15 plays, 20 plays off of him, and you may run all 20 of them. You may not, but you have a stack of plays for him that he can run. So because I think it's easier for him to learn his defense, but then have spot duty on offense than to try to do it because your team may not be good enough to play man to man, So you're gonna have to help. You're gonna have to have his ability to be versatile. He may have to move from slot to outside corner. You may have to have him doing a lot of things, but get him entrenched in the defense and let him 15, 20 plays we got drawn up for you on offense. But he understands that offense, he gets paid more money. And he would rather be a receiver than a defensive back. He would rather play spot time on defense than on offense.
But Jacksonville, it's still, to me, it's about Trevor Lawrence.
I believe they know what they have. I believe Brian Thomas is there. He's their number one guy. And if you can't flourish with Brian Thomas, then you may not be our guy. But I believe he can and will. I think Travis is an added dimension to what they're doing. But make no mistake, B. Thomas is the guy. So if that's the case, then you're on defense, but you're playing plays on offense as well.
So I see what you're saying. It may be easier for Jacksonville to maximize Brian Thomas by having Hunter play corner and then have him packages for him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and man, it was him or Genty to me that Jacksonville was going after, and if that's true, if you have the type of player that's worth moving up for or taking a top 5 pick, they're looking offense first. But if you don't make the deal they did, you don't trade a future first-round pick for him unless they've already said it. They think they have a first-round pick at both spots. But if he focuses on one, he becomes great at one. I love his mentality. If no one mentions Deion Sanders when you bring up Travis Hunter. And that guy's more or less they treat him like family. But it's all about Shedeur. But Travis has the same type of connection to Deion, the same flash. He's got the Heisman Trophy. But I love his mentality and his grind. And he seems like a very cool dude. I mean, there was a random post from a lady that sat next to him on a
Yeah, I
flight.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's great. The intangibles with him too. That's why I think he deserves a shot at this. And I don't think. And look, I'm no great athlete, Mace.
Mhm.
I played in the wing T offense in high school, and I was a wide receiver. In safety, I didn't play quarter. I played safety for a reason. But I think as many snaps that he played week in and week out in college, I don't think he's going to hit a rookie wall because he was playing 2 games a week. I think the grind and the schedule. I think he can handle it late in the year. Do you agree?
Well, that is the question. We got to
Yes.
leave it here, Hut, but we're going to keep
Okay, yeah,
talking
sorry.
about this as we move forward because I think there's a lot of different pathways this could take. Some that are jackpot for the Jaguars, and some that could go the complete opposite
Exactly.
if it's too much too soon and it proves too difficult to do.
Yeah.
We all can wonder, right? We all wondered what Shohei Ohtani would look like
Mhm.
years ago when he came
That's right.
over, the mysterious. We'd never seen him play. He can pitch and he can hit. That's taken a lot of different pathways. And so only time will tell. But Hut, great stuff. And we'll talk to you again soon. We're all intrigued what happens in the next 24 hours, especially on our radio station.
No doubt. No doubt. Hey, always a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
Jonathan
Hut.
Hutton, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow, joins us every Wednesday here on the show, usually at noon, but we adjusted with our time slot. When we come back, we'll have more here on DVD. We'll get some of your reaction to the Derrick Henry topic that we put out there. A lot of you have weighed in on the text line at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll read some of those texts in a moment. This is DVD, D. Mace, Adam, and Willie, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, here is the other album that we referenced, the mid-'80s. I think it was 86. Both albums came out. Raising Hell, Run DMC, License to Ill, BC Boys. Sometimes easily confused because there is a You Be Illin' song by Run DMC. But this was the song that really got everybody going, right? The crossover with Aerosmith, that was like mind-blowing at the time, especially on MTV.
They played it all.
They played it all the time. All right. We're back here on DVD. We've got a lot of reaction here on our text line.
A whole bunch. Goodness.
615-737-1025. We're asking questions about Derrick Henry and his legacy, where he can go. Now that he's with the Ravens, how do you feel about it here in this town? And if you look ahead to things like Hall of Fame, if the Ravens won the Super Bowl, where is this all going? How much does he have left in the tank? And has your feeling changed a little bit in the last year? I will admit, I knew he would be effective. I thought it would be a little more as a role player. I did not think he had a 1,900-yard season in him. And now I've changed to I think he can have 2 more, at least, very productive seasons. And then if he wants to sort of hang around for a couple of more years, he could really get up there into that high stratosphere of all-time rushing yards, just the volume, which I didn't think he could get into that a year or two ago. 615-737-1025. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Let's read a couple of the texts here. One person says, I want to go on the record right now. Henry breaks the all-time record as long as he doesn't have a freak injury. He will produce and he will play enough. Next 3 years alone, he's going to run for 5,000 yards or more. 3 years.
Listen, Derrick Henry, the only reason he missed half the season was because of the foot injury. He hasn't had any nagging hamstring injuries or knee injury or something that toe injury or something that would set him back or something that will get worse as he gets older. He hasn't had any of those injuries. Now, the foot injury was big. I get it. But he ended up coming back during the playoffs, and he had an okay game, even though I felt that they should have continued to they should have used the other back more in that game because Derrick Henry was just coming back.
Yeah, that's a what if.
Yeah, that was like, man, they should have used, I forgot the guy. What was his name? He ended up going to Carolina right after he left.
Deontay
Foreman.
Right, yeah.
Deontay Foreman. I think that's who it was.
He was the guy that had the bulk, and then there was the other smaller back.
But he took the bulk of the carries.
Yeah.
He was
Foreman was the guy that was really
the
effective.
Pounder, yes. But I mean, if you look at
Hillman was the other guy, right?
Yeah. If you look at what Derrick Henry is able to do, if he stays healthy, because he hadn't had any major injuries outside of the foot injury, he is one of those guys that may be able to get into that top 5 without playing 15, 20 years. I think Derrick's at year 10 now, 11, somewhere around there. But I think he can get in that top 5 without having to play 5 more.
He's going into
years.
His 10th year.
Yeah, so he can get there without having to play 5 extra years. He can get inside that top 5. So he has a lot of good football left in him. But I think he did. I think he did what was best for his career longevity, and that was. And I think the Titans understood too. They were not in a place to win, and he wanted to win. And he still had some very good years left in him. I think for the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to be a 1,500-yard rusher for the next 2 to 3 years. I think he will be.
Okay.
Barring any injury.
With the last texter.
Yeah. If he stays healthy, Derrick Henry will rush for 1,500 yards or more each of the next 3 seasons.
We're talking about his legacy for now both the Ravens and the Titans as we move forward here, how there's a little more history being made with the Ravens these days, and now you're kind of shifting your mindset. And you shared your experience having gone from the Titans to the Ravens, and so that prompted this texter to say, nothing right about not bringing you back, D. Mace. Just another bad decision on the Titans' part.
Well, I think
A
so
bitter,
too.
a bitter man.
I
out
think
there.
so too. But no, listen. Derrick Henry is seen differently than I was when it comes to this franchise, even a fan base. He's been a hell of a player, one of the greatest, and he will always, to me, be behind the three guys that I think fondly of, Steve, Eddie, and Frank. And this is not up for debate, like argue it. It's just me. I know other people got him number one or number two. I get it. Hey, fine. I'm not going to argue with you. But when it comes to me, he's number 4 on that list. I don't think, regardless of, he's going to make it to the Hall of Fame. I know that.
Speaking
but
of
he
that,
always will stay number 4 for me.
Nevada Josh put this on the text line when we were talking about if he goes to the Hall of Fame, will the bust be for the Titans or the Ravens if he continues to pile up good seasons with the Ravens? Josh says, why couldn't Henry retire his jersey with both teams? I mean, if they can retire Shedeur Sanders' jersey in Colorado, you should be able to retire Henry on both teams. LOL. Well, you can retire the number for both teams. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
But when you go into the Hall of Fame, at least in baseball, you have a hat on, and you have to
I
sort of have
you
have to have the logo on your hat. Otherwise, you have just like a generic hat. That's not what a baseball hat looks like. So that's the big thing in baseball. I think for the bust,
you don't have
to have a helmet.
No,
right?
That doesn't have to be a certain.
So I don't know if you necessarily have to go in as one or the other,
because they're going to list all the teams you were with anyway.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna. It's not gonna be, oh, he's going in as this player for this team. It's just, he's going in, and they're gonna say he finished his career here. And if he wins the Super Bowl in Baltimore, they're going to talk more about that than they do his great years that he had with the Titans. Why? Because the Super Bowl sort of trumps all of that. But either way, man, Derrick is seeing a lot different, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the Super Bowl in Baltimore, that Baltimore puts him in their Ring of Honor, and the Titans for sure will put, or are going to. It's just a matter of time.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if 22 doesn't get worn again anytime soon, and maybe they
right
do
about that. Yeah,
a retirement.
Yeah.
Joseph is on our phones, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. If you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. Joseph, welcome.
Hey, buddy, how y'all doing? And Derek, hey, you were still one of my great players all time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, I definitely do. I think, this is my opinion, I think the worst thing the Titans could have done was got rid of him. I'm glad he went somewhere else and he's moving on. But the thing of it is people, if they would have just kept him in and kept him here and built a better program around him, because the program now has just went downhill, in my opinion, is what's basically done. And now
they just picked first, so it's definitely gone down.
So you're right about that one.
I think people will share your opinion, Joseph.
yes. It's went downhill. I love the Titans, man. It's always been my team and stuff. But I'm proud of Derrick. I told people when the Titans got him, they got a gem, man.
So do you still root for him, Joseph, even though he's on the Ravens?
Yes, I do. I still pull for Derrick Henry. Even though he's on the Ravens, I still pull for Derrick. I still have his stuff. And I hated it. The Titans got rid of him because it did make Will Levis look bad, because they weren't stacking 8 and 9 in the box anymore. And they got these new coaching staff in. I just think it destroyed that offense. Derrick Henry was the king, and is the king. And I think he's got 5 years left.
This call will be recorded.
Well, that I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
there. But Joseph, thanks for the call. So he thinks that there's a lot left in the tank for Derrick Henry. There's a couple more texts from our text line. Lenny says 2 huge mistakes: getting rid of A.J. Brown and letting Derrick Henry go. We're surrounded by idiots. I don't think there was I was here.
Yeah.
You were here.
Yeah.
We didn't have this wave of callers saying, "What are they doing?
Yeah.
Why didn't they bring back Derrick Henry?" At the time, it didn't seem like the worst decision.
No.
I think
because of where this team was
where
headed.
the team was headed. They were changing the coaches. I don't think it was a shock to the system. Chuck weighs in and says, to me, Barry Sanders was the absolute very best running back all time, and I'm not a Detroit fan.
Hey, I agree with you. And I watched it up close and personal. I agree with you. Barry Sanders is the best running back ever to me. So, he don't have the record, but he sure enough could have had it if he hadn't retired after 10 years and he was coming off a 1,500-yard year that year he retired, so he still was in his prime. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
I haven't cross-checked this text, but texter says the fact that Todd Gurley is third in rushing touchdowns since 2015 tells you it's not a rushing league anymore. This was in the discussion of Derrick Henry is a throwback.
Yes.
And like more of the old school way that teams used to use the running backs, Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, Tony Dorsett, Dickerson, those guys, there just aren't that. He is the one lone guy who is used that way. Yeah, is able to do that way. Although it is important to note that it's been an easier workload with him in Baltimore. At least it was last year.
Yeah.
Because you can't cheat and stack the box against him.
Not at all.
All right, let's take our final break this hour. We'll come back to this. We got a lot more people that want to weigh on Derrick Henry and where this is going. If you just joined us and you didn't see why we started this, Baltimore is re-upped with Derrick Henry, 2 more years, $15 million per year, the most ever allotted to a running back at his age, which is over 30 years old at this point. They think he's got a lot left. It could not have worked better for the Ravens last year, other than winning the whole thing. But 1,921 yards at age 30, and it looks like he is not slowing down anytime soon. Stay tuned. We'll talk more about this. If you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. And at 2 o'clock, we will talk Pete Rose and what baseball decided to do yesterday, the commissioner, and what all that means. Speaking of Hall of Fame and processes, what's going to happen to Pete Rose? We'd love to hear opinions on that. And Tyler Kepner from The Athletic is going to join us. Stay tuned. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game. Hey, if you're in a situation right now financially where you find yourself swimming each month with credit card debt or car payments or a combination, maybe some other high interest loans, maybe you got bills to pay, and you're like, how do I change the equation here? Well, Loan Pronto has been helping with this all across the land. I talk about them all the time. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto can get you approved in under 24 hours. They can get you cash from your home's equity where you can pay off that debt, get rid of those high interest bills, get it down to zero, and consolidate down to one low monthly payment. Your home equity is yours. Use it to your advantage. Call Loan Pronto for a free instant home appraisal and see how much cash you can get. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB, Better Business Bureau, and they have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Get debt relief now. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. We're back on 102.5 The Game. This is DVD, D-Mace, Adam, Willie, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Vingan will be back with us on Friday. We'll be back to our normal time slot. D-Mace and I have the 12 to 3 spot today and tomorrow. So we have another hour coming up, and we will talk Pete Rose and Commissioner Rob Manfred's decision to basically say anybody who has passed away and was on the permanently ineligible list is now eligible for the Hall of Fame. And it was definitely on purpose. It was on purpose.
A new rule.
It's a new rule he made up. And I think a lot of people for years have said they're not going to let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame while he's alive. And some people really are offended by that. I can understand that.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah. And he died 7 months ago. And so now he is eligible. Now there's a process. Does this mean he's going to get in? I think probably, but we'll talk about the process because D-Mace knows a thing or two about processes of getting elected into a Hall of Fame. And the process is everything. And there's a lot of different ways you can elect a Hall of Fame. This is a unique one. We'll talk about it with baseball. And then there's also the matter of Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was also in the club of permanently ineligible, but hands down Hall of Fame credentials. So an interesting story developing. By the way, I believe it is Pete Rose night tonight in Cincinnati, where his family is going to be there. I think they're going to honor him. I think that will be something to keep your eye on, especially if you're a Reds fan. But if you're a baseball fan, that's something to kind of take a look at. Let's get back to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're talking about a Hall of Fame of a different subject here with Derrick Henry looking like he's moving headlong into that direction, Hall of Fame in Canton. And his legacy, as he is now re-upped to a pretty lucrative contract based on his age especially and his position he plays. Most running backs do not get paid. We've had several tales of woe of running backs who even are around age 28, teams like, well, he's probably at his best days behind him. We're not paying you the big money anymore. And even Saquon Barkley at this stage of his career, the Giants didn't do it. Famously, they didn't pay him, let him go to the Eagles, and you saw what happened. So that's an interesting part of this. But let's get back to our text line and talk more Derrick Henry here. Greg points this out, and this is kind of true. Derrick did not even play his first 2 seasons. He did play, but he was sharing time with DeMarco Murray, right? That is a very interesting thing. Like Eddie George, this was the year before. I think you got there, D-Mace, a year or two, but immediately when he joined the Oilers at the time, he became the main man. Yeah, he was. They day one, he was the number one threat on their. They got a bunch of carries and started racking up the yards. Derrick Henry, the first couple of years, wasn't the main guy, which might be helping him now. You could say, or prolonging his career on the back end, maybe. But a lot of times, the best running backs are great right from the start, like Tony Dorsett. I can think of some other guys who, day one, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. I mean, they were ready to go day one and the main guy.
Yeah, they were. And Derrick Henry was sort of brought on slowly. We have another caller, Ron from Kingston Springs, says, in my opinion, when Derrick Henry goes into the Hall of Fame, the highlight reel will say it all. Just saying, you're right. Because, and listen, he was here in Nashville for 8 years. So the highlight reel, we've all seen it, a 99-yard stiff arm run, stiff arming, the guys from Baltimore, stiff arming the guys from Buffalo, Josh Norman. They made memes out of all of them. So when you start talking about like a career like Derrick Henry's, who at this point, he sort of surpassed the running back threshold in regards to years playing and being a starter and being productive like he is. I mean, the majority of it will come from Titans, his days here in Nashville, unless they win a Super Bowl.
If they win a Super Bowl. Now, that leads me right into this other texter. Gene says, think about Jerome Bettis. What is he remembered as?
But he didn't go nowhere else. Bettis didn't go nowhere else.
Well, he started with the Rams, and
Yeah.
he had some good years with the Rams. Now, I would say he played
But that was early.
a larger portion of his
With
time with
Pittsburgh,
the Steelers.
yes.
So he's definitely remembered as a Steeler.
Yes.
We agree on that.
Oh, of course.
But
that's because
when he
ran a
was
Super
the
Bowl,
young
too.
buck, right? He had some really good years with the Rams, but we
Yes.
don't remember those.
No, they don't show much of it.
And they didn't win. They didn't win much.
Yeah,
when
they
he was with the
weren't
Rams.
winning a lot. He ended up coming to Pittsburgh. One of the, Pittsburgh is a model franchise when you're talking about winning. And he goes to Pittsburgh, and not only, is he doing well, but he ends up winning a Super Bowl, albeit his last year. He had been to one prior to that. They lost to Dallas. Well, he was there that year. They lost to Dallas, right, in the Super Bowl. No, Bettis wasn't there that year. That was way
I think
before
that was
Bettis.
pre-Bettis.
That was pre-Bettis.
Yeah.
They end up going out, and I think they ended up losing to somebody. One of his years that he was there prior to them winning it, if I'm not mistaken. But that's who they look at him as, a Pittsburgh Steeler. Why? Because more importantly, one, the organization, but then two, he won a Super Bowl with that organization.
I had another texter say the Ravens messed up by not helping him, being aware of the fact that he could have got a huge milestone getting to 2,000, the only back to ever get 2,000 yards. David, you watch them every week. Did they have a chance to get him to 2,000? Did they just not make a huge effort to get him there?
I think he was close, but it was by
I
100 plus yards. He had to
Yeah.
get 100 plus yards to even, 200 yards. He had to get 200 yards to even sniff 2,000, and it was just it was too much. It was the last game of the year, and
They needed him for the playoffs. They
Exactly.
didn't want to, run him into the ground. And I think Derrick Henry was okay with that. Not having all, because he ended up with what, 19?
Yeah, 19, 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was he only need Lamar needed a few more yards for 1,000, and that's what I think that's what happened was let's get Lamar to 1,000.
Mhm.
Derrick Henry is already at 19. It was already good.
Yeah, it was he was entering that game at 1,800, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
All right, we'll end on a lighter note here. Dylan on our text line, who texts often here, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. On the bust, what will Derrick Henry's hair look like? The braids he's got, you're envisioning he's got one of the more unique. He said, do you just kind of let it flow? Or do you have the roll up that you used to wear that almost looked like a rope hanging off? He'd have the tight
beehive.
braids, the beehive. Yeah.
The beehive.
And I'm sure defenders were tempted to grab it because it wasn't against the rules at all. But will he have the beehive on the bust?
He got to have a beehive.
That would be a unique looking bust, right?
He has to have the beehive. Yes.
Got to go with the beehive.
Can't go in the hall without the beehive.
All right. When we come back, we are going to have the final hour of the show. Tyler Kepton's going to join us down the stretch, and we will talk about what to do now about Pete Rose. And if you're a baseball fan, if you're a sports fan, if you go back a ways, you definitely probably have, not definitely probably, you definitely have an opinion on Pete Rose, especially with the documentary that came out that really got into all the details of what has happened with Pete Rose throughout his career. He's now eligible for the Hall of Fame. Should he be in? Should he be in your opinion? Is it a no-brainer now? Or do you still have reservations? 615-737-1025. Final hour of the show coming up here on DVD. DVD with you for the final hour. A special hour of DVD. We'll have the 2 o'clock hour today and tomorrow. We've shuffled the deck a little bit this week here on 102.5 The Game, but we are still DVD. D. Mace, Adam Vingan, Willie Donick, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And we're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We're going to get into the Pete Rose topic here very soon, but we have one carryover call from the last hour we want to get to here. And then we also have a little note on the Titans schedule. We now know the first 2 games of the season. They drop these little tidbits for us, and then you get the whole thing tomorrow. The mastermind NFL of getting us interested in a schedule. I can't believe it. But Felix is on the line, driven by WilsonCountyHundy.com. Felix, welcome.
Hey guys, I must have come in a little bit late, but on Derek's hairdo, I always thought it was a coontail, from like T-Rex.
Huh? Okay.
I never knew it was called something else.
No, we say it looks like a beehive, but if he said it looks like a raccoon tail, then okay.
All right, thank you guys. That's all I have.
Thank you, Felix. He said it looks like T-Rex. Raccoon tail. Oh man, I'm pretty sure T-Rex would like being compared, to
Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Exactly. In any kind of way, man.
T-Rex needs to get in the weight room if he wants to look a little more like Derrick.
Yeah, man. You need to beef up a little bit more, T-Rex.
So
weights up.
So share with us. It's interesting. I saw. I can remember the game.
Mm-hmm.
The last time the Titans opened up in Denver
Mm-hmm.
was when there were no fans. It was
Yes.
the 2020 season.
Yes.
That was 2020, right? And I think they pulled it out in that game.
Mm-hmm.
There were no fans at Mile High Stadium. That was the first game. That was one we were watching. Like, oh,
So was
this
it Mile
is different.
Stadium?
Fanless.
Fanless
But
stadium.
the Titans, the first game in theory of Cam Ward's career is going to be in Denver, and
Yes.
they
And
just
then
released when the home opener.
Yeah, they released the home opener. It will be the second week of the NFL season here in Nashville versus the LA Rams. So they will be coming to town. Matthew Stafford and the bunch will be coming here to Nashville to face hopefully a 1-0 Cam Ward in the bunch. So we'll see. But the second game of the season. Now, we also discussed
two playoff teams will be
2 playoff
opponents
teams back to back.
You never know year to year how that's going to play out.
So tell me how does that become an easy schedule?
It's not easy.
Your first 2 games.
Because it was reported that, if you look at the team, we know the teams they're going to play. If you look at the winning percentage, there's different ways to calculate strength of schedule.
Exactly.
And of course, everything changes when the season starts. But right now, it is considered a weaker schedule, the Titans.
But if you look at
you start off
really,
easy.
yeah,
you
start off the year with Denver
Denver
playoff team, and then back here home against the LA Rams. So you have back-to-back weeks against playoff teams and teams that are excited about their quarterback, albeit Sam Bradford is older, but I think they're excited about him. They re-signed him to another deal.
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew
you said
Stafford.
Sam Bradford.
Yes,
another former Ram.
former Ram, but another former first-round pick.
Yes.
But Matthew Stafford, yeah, they're excited about him. If they wouldn't have re-signed him. So you got 2 teams right off the bat, playoff teams that you got to play. So Titan fans, how you like that? The NFL doing to y'all already. They don't like y'all. They may be setting y'all up again, us up. Let me say us all again for a first number 1 pick in the draft. I hope that don't happen. But when you play 2 playoff teams right off the bat, we're gonna see where this team is at very quickly, because it's tough playing up at Denver, first game of the season.
Oh yeah,
that air is a little bit different up there, and I'm sure Cam's, he's somewhat used to it because he played up in Washington. But man, oh man, still, that being your first game of your rookie season, and then your next game is against another playoff, team. That's either you can make a statement off the bat, as far as where you're going as a quarterback and as a team, or we can watch this thing slowly go downhill. So either way, now that we know who the Titans are playing, at least their first 2 games, now we're trying to figure out, could one of those games be a nationally televised game? At least right now.
The first one is a 4 o'clock, or I guess 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and the second one's a noon, so I know that. Did
Yeah.
they say the time of this first one?
The first one I think is on Fox. I saw, which would
Uh-huh.
not be a prime
Not yet
time.
prime
It's
time, yeah.
it's in the late window, so you probably have a decent audience. But I don't think it's going to be Tony Romo or Tom
Nah,
Brady's
you're not
team
getting
calling
the
the
top
game.
guys.
I don't think so.
But I do believe they're going to get at least one.
You think they'll
maybe
get a
Tuesday.
prime time in there?
Yeah, you can't. And like I said off air, like you can't have the number one pick not be on national television at least once. Like the number one pick in the draft, you can't, especially a quarterback, you cannot not have him on at least one primetime game
Okay.
to start. Now they may flex into
There
some
have
other
been
ones,
years. There have been years where the Titans have not been.
but
on
that
prime
but
time.
that wasn't
But-
when they had
but-
Marcus Mariota. When they drafted Marcus Mariota, number one was a 2 overall. I think they had.
I
some,
feel like they had a
primetime
Thursday
game.
night. Remember
Yeah.
that they would seem like they played the Jaguars every year on a Thursday night for about a 5-year stretch. And
Tell
I
me
think
the
that
last-
was in there.
Tell me, I wish we maybe this can be a discussion for tomorrow. The last number one quarterback, number one pick in the draft quarterback that didn't have a nationally televised game that upcoming season. I wonder, has it
Good
ever
question.
happened?
I've never.
Adam, I know you're
Feel like
listening,
I've
so
tried-
you can do that.
Yeah, we'll have to get at this. This is a job for Adam for sure.
Exactly. He may do it and text me like,
Yeah,
here it is.
He'll have it in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
I'd be sitting there going, Derek, I still don't have it. I'm looking at this website
And
now.
Adam like,
I've gone year to year. I've gone back to the satellite TV and like, hey, all you got to do is go.
Yeah, Adam get it to you in less
Yeah,
than 5 minutes.
5
There you
minutes.
go.
He'll get it to you in 5 minutes.
But yeah, they have to have at least one primetime game.
I think so. Monday Night Football, you can. I think it should be early in the year.
Yeah.
I think if you're a television network and you're like, okay, we want to have Cam Ward, I feel like you would want to have him fairly early in the season, between say
Because you
like
can then
5
flex them in
between
later.
weeks 5 and 8, where you can hope that their team is not completely out of contention, and there's still sort of a newness, a curiosity to
Mhm.
see the number one overall pick.
That'll get
I
the
don't
games
think
up
it'll
under
be.
his
I'm
belt.
pretty sure it won't be a Sunday night game. I'm pretty sure we can rule that out.
Unless
But
they
a
start
Thursday
doing
night
well.
or a Monday night, I wouldn't rule that out.
Unless they start doing well. I want to see, like later in the season, who do they have them playing on Sunday? Late in the season, like November, December.
Yeah. And is
Because
it going to
that-
be another year where you play a lot of your division games
Yeah.
in December, like they like to
Because a lot
hold
of that
those back?
a lot of that can be flex. Like, say if them and the Houston Texans are doing really well and they're fighting, but they play on a noon on a Sunday, they can flex that one up, or flex that one up and then put it on prime time.
I'm still wondering how optimistic you're being. If you think that they can still be in some sort of contention in December, I'm
Listen,
not counting on
Willie,
that.
I said this yesterday. And I know we're gonna give all of our
You were
predictions
quite
and all-
optimistic
Yes.
last year.
After last year I was the same
I
way.
was optimistic. I had 8 and 9, and I was still way off.
I had 9 and 8. I had no.
You
I
had
had,
more-
I,
you
I
had
had 9 and
double-digit
8
wins. You
or
had double-digit
11.
wins.
I think I had 10 or 11.
I had
Yeah.
10 or
11,
11.
yeah.
You and
Yes.
Caroline
No,
both took the
no. But listen.
the bait.
This is why, and I've already said this yesterday. So it's not coming as any big news, other than who didn't hear me at this hour. As I said last year, what was my caveat? I said if they stay healthy, I said 22. I said they can compete because the guys on defense and the guys on offense, I'm looking like they can't compete. If the offensive line stays upright, they stay healthy, they should be able to compete within their division. It didn't happen. I still believe that if they stay healthy, and what I mean by healthy is guys are not missing games. Now you can be hurt and still play, but if they stay healthy, I think this is a team that is going to be pushing more of the they are going to double the win total that they had last year. So what, 3? I think they are a 6, 7, possibly even 8 win team if they stay healthy. That's if they stay healthy. If they stay healthy, I think they can do it.
Well, how many times have we said? Because I do not agree with you.
But that's
I
still
don't
not a
think-
playoff team.
I don't think they'll get that high, because I still think the rest of the roster
That's why they
still
got to
got too
stay
many
healthy.
question marks. Well, even if they stay healthy, I still don't know that a healthy Titans team could get that many wins. I could be wrong. But as we've said, it's a lot easier to go from 3 to that neighborhood than it is from going
6
to that neighborhood to double-digit wins, division title type of stuff. There's a transition there, and they're a long way from that. I think we both agree there. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll transition into the Pete Rose. Major League Baseball has removed Pete Rose and other deceased players, including Shoeless Joe Jackson, from the permanently ineligible list, which makes him eligible now to be voted on for the Hall of Fame. So where do we go from here? We're going to talk about it. We'll have a special guest in Tyler Kepner a little bit later in the hour. But I really want to hear from you on our phone and text line. If you've been following this saga for decades, as any baseball fan has, and look, I am of the age when I learned how to play baseball, everybody was pointing to Pete Rose. This is how you play the game. Charlie Hustle. Look at the dedication. Look how much he loves it. Pete Rose was so popular, so big. It outweighed even his value as a player. He was obviously a great player. He's the hit king. But his persona was bigger and his effect was bigger. And then the heartbreak of his fall was tough for anybody who loved baseball, especially up north of us in Cincinnati. So this has been a saga that has gone on for the better part of 40 plus, 40 years if you go back into the years leading up to his ban in 1989. So tell me how you feel about this whole thing. 615-737-1025. And we're going to get D. Mace's opinion on what's ahead here, because Rob Manfred has notably made this decision and only had it applied to Pete Rose after he has now passed away for 7 months. That has definitely got a reaction from some people. So we'll take your calls, some texts on it. We'll get D. Mace's opinion, and then we'll get to Tyler a little bit later. Meanwhile, let me tell you that Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located at the Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun at Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals right now and get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
Tim Kirkjian joins us now live with much more on this developing story. Tim, today's news ends the ban that Rose accepted in August of 1989. At the time, reinstatement was an option, but it never came to be until today. Why did it take more than 35 years?
Well, the president of the United States put pressure on baseball to make this happen. Exactly how much pressure is not clear. And baseball, of course, betting in baseball is rampant today. Of course, you're not allowed to bet on baseball if you work inside the game. And sadly, I think the biggest factor is that Pete Rose died. Remember, in 2015, Rob Manfred called him an unacceptable risk of further violation. But since he died, apparently now he is no longer a risk. Those are just three factors that led us to today.
A very, very detailed and layered topic and saga that has gone over decades.
Yes.
What to do about Pete Rose, who is now, thanks to Rob Manfred and his news, it sort of dropped out of the sky. I didn't know that was coming at all yesterday, but the release from the commissioner that he is now off of the permanently ineligible list. Deceased players are not on the permanently banned list because you can't affect the integrity of the game basically after you pass away.
But that's just a new rule he made up.
He sort of just made this up. Yes, Rob Manfred is
Arbitrarily
a
just
lawyer.
said, hey, let's do it.
And this was how he felt like he could walk this tightrope and put it now in the hands of the Hall of Fame Museum and their committee as now whether to put him in the Hall of Fame, because that's long been the argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to ban him from baseball, but a lot of people have said he should be in the Hall of Fame just based on what he did before the gambling stuff started to happen when he was managing. And it's still a little bit murky of when he actually started betting on baseball. Some believe that he was actually betting on baseball well before he became a player manager, but they busted him basically for what they found out when they investigated in 1987, when he had retired as a player and he was managing the Reds, and they had all the phone records and the bookies and all of that stuff. They had him dead to rights. And if Pete Rose had just fallen on the sword and said, you know what, I made a terrible mistake, and admitted guilt, this never probably would have happened. He would have been in the Hall of Fame. But you can't go back. We know what he did. But this is the part I want to ask you about, D-Mace. The fact that they waited after he passed away to make this ruling. Because here is a quote from Pete Rose. This is right out of the article that Tyler Kepner wrote for The Athletic. And Tyler's going to join us in about 15 minutes. Pete Rose, quote, "I've come to the conclusion, I hope I'm wrong, that I'll make the Hall of Fame after I die." Rose said this 10 days before he actually died in an interview with a sportscaster in Dayton, Ohio, which I totally disagree with, he says, because the Hall of Fame is for two reasons: your friends and your family. That's what the Hall of Fame is for, your fans and your family. And it's for your family if you're here. It's for your fans if you're here, not if you're 10 feet under. So I think it's sad for a lot of fans of his that really appreciate the best of Pete Rose and can separate that from all of the bad stuff, the gambling. And so I think he'll get a lot of sympathy for that. It is kind of sad on that front. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think you shouldn't, if you're not going to let him in, you're not going to let him in. I think it's sort of disingenuous after he passes away and then you let him in. I'm happy they are opening it up so he has a pathway to the Hall of Fame because he deserves it. The play on the field dictates that he deserves and he's earned the right to be in the Hall of Fame. And that's one of those things you should be able to experience and celebrate with your family as you are living. To make up a rule post his death, just so you can feel better about yourself, Manfred, that's not cool. I mean, and again, I'm glad that they've given him an opportunity, and so his family can potentially celebrate that. But I don't think anyone's in total agreement on how they have handled it.
Yeah.
I'm great that
And
I'm
Pete
sure there
Rose
are a
was
bunch
his
of
own
people.
worst
Yeah.
enemy because so many times during this process he would do something that would stop momentum that would build. He has a lawyer who still is continuing this process. Now he represents the family of Pete Rose. He can't represent Pete anymore. But every time where this documentary that I believe it was HBO that had it, really, really good stuff. You want to go back and watch, but he would make some headway. He would get some other Hall of Famers say, look, it's time to let Pete into the Hall of Fame. Forget about getting back involved with baseball and stuff, but let's let him into the Hall of Fame. I think people would build momentum, and then something would happen, a news story, or he would rub somebody the wrong way or say the wrong thing. He got into it with a female reporter and during this, for example, and all the momentum would stop. And they would have to go back down the hill and start again. This lawyer has stayed with it. So now what happens is he's eligible to go into the Hall of Fame, but there's different layers of how you get to the Hall of Fame.
You have to wait 2 years.
Normally, after you play for 5 years, there's a 15-year period where the writers vote you in. And there are about 400 writers. You have to get 75% of the vote. But that window is gone for Pete Rose because you only have a 15-year window. And so he was ineligible during all that time. So that's gone. So now there are other committees that are there for people who missed that window for one reason or another. And now you have deceased players who were on the permanently ineligible list. So famously, Shoeless Joe Jackson from the Black Sox, a group in 1919 that fixed the World Series.
Yes.
That was it's a famous movie, 8 Men Out. If you want to watch that, that's a great movie that'll tell you that story. But Shoeless Joe was a hands-down Hall of Famer that was banned for life before Pete Rose because he allegedly took money to throw the World Series, even though he played really well in that World Series. So he's now back into consideration. So for this, the Baseball Hall of Fame has a 16-person committee that will consider this. And the next group of players that fall into this category, they'll meet in December of 2027. So we got a long way to go. We got 2 years until they really will delve into this. So they're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So I wonder, is this a no-brainer? He's got to get 12 of the 16 votes. I believe now, and we're going to get the details from Tyler here in our next segment, that there's some former players on this committee. So every Hall of Fame has to decide how they let people in, like your high school Hall of Fame, your college Hall of Fame, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, which you just got inducted into. They all have different ways. The NFL Hall of Fame, they all have different ways of voting people in. So it's interesting that this is how it is. 16 people will determine this.
Now, I wonder of those 16 people, because you don't know who the individual people are. You know, some of them are former players. How many of those have spoken previously on the behalf of Pete Rose? And how many guys or girls have chosen to either not say anything or spoken against putting Pete Rose in of that panel, if they even said anything at all over the course of the almost 20 years? It's been 20 years, right? 89, 99. Yeah, it's been over 20. It's been 30. It's been almost 30 years?
Yeah, close, getting close to 40.
40, yes. So out of the 40 years, close to, however long this group has been assembled together.
Right. It's a rotating group of people. So I don't know. It doesn't say in Tyler's article who's on there. And they're not going to meet for 2 years. So I don't know who will be on there, but it generally is a group of baseball people. I don't know. There may be a couple writers in there, but the makeup will tell us a lot, right? And because it would only take, with 16 people, it only takes a block of 2 or 3 really strong, opinionated people that say, "No way, I'm not. Pete did all these things. We're not, but I'm voting no." And you know, now it just takes 1 or 2 others to convince, and now you keep him out, and then I don't know what happens after that. But that, I mean, You've been on a lot of.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever voted for a Hall of Fame. I've
No.
voted for awards before,
Yeah,
and there's some
yeah.
interesting discussions that happen when you're trying to determine who wins an award.
Mhm.
So when it's the smaller the group, it just takes a few dissenting opinions
Yeah.
to swing a vote, right?
Yeah. How many? Because I don't know this, and I would like to know it. How many voting participants are there each year for the Hall of Fame? How many writers vote?
400 for the writers.
Okay.
That's the main block that
Okay.
most of the Hall of Famers make it
Why
on.
is there so many people voting on? And listen,
That's
I'm sure there's some
everything
great
you have
people.
has strengths and
Yeah.
weaknesses,
Why
right? There's
is
no
there
perfect way
400
to do it.
people voting for the Hall of Fame? Like 400 writers voting for the
Right. Like there was one guy that didn't vote for Derek Jeter the first year he was in, and it was kind of funny. It's like he's
Yeah, it's like why
like
is
he
there
should
so
be
many-
unanimous, and one guy didn't vote for Derek Jeter. I think that was right. Right? Am I remembering that right?
I think it's Derek Jeter, and then I think it was the kid,
Ken Griffey?
Yeah, Ken Griffey. Yeah,
And
he,
so
he
it's
wasn't
another-
unanimous either.
It's kind of funny where you're like, who's the one guy that didn't
Yeah,
vote for
it's
Derek
like,
Jeter?
why so
How
many
does that
writers?
guy qualify to vote?
And
right?
listen, this is not anything against the writers. There are a lot of great ones that have followed baseball. I get it. But why 400?
Right.
400, like why?
And we'll ask Tyler that
Yeah.
question too, because that is an interesting strand of this as we move forward in this saga. I think he's going to get in eventually,
Mhm.
one way or another. It may not be the first.
Yeah.
It may not be in December of
But you think
2027. I
there'd
don't
be-
know if it's a given.
You think they'd be pressured?
I
Like
think there'll be a
outside
lot
pressure?
of discussion.
Yeah.
I think there will be a lot of discussion about who's on the panel.
Yes.
Have they ever spoken out before, opinion
all
wise,
that's gonna
on
come out,
for or
yes.
against Pete? Because we all have opinions, and
Yes.
this has been going on for 40 years. So
And your
Tyler,
opinion may have swayed.
I
know?
do think that's very fair. I think I've probably swayed. I think
Yeah.
for a while I was like, no way, not Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Now I could live with it if he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm okay with that. Tell the whole story.
Mhm.
You know, not everybody's a fairy tale,
Exactly.
right? There's a
Just
lot of
because it has
flawed,
an ugly
complicated people in the Hall of Fame.
Just because it has an ugly history don't mean you still don't tell a history. Tell it.
Right.
It's a part of the story.
And then the next thing is, okay, if you're letting him in, what about all the
Yeah.
steroid guys?
That
There
should-
we go.
But you know that. But see, they're not banned.
They're not banned. They're
Yeah,
eligible.
they're eligible.
People are just choosing not to vote for
Exactly.
them.
Pete
Yeah.
Rose was different. He was banned.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's up to the 400 writers.
Yeah. They've never had a chance to vote.
Willie, you a voter, aren't you?
No.
You're not
I'm
a
not.
voter.
Nope.
Okay, dang. I was about to say, Willie, get off the panel, man. Goodness, $3.99.
I wonder. I think Tyler has voted. I'm pretty sure he
Okay.
has voted for Hall of Fame. So we're going
Is
to bring
Plaz a voter?
for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
he is not. I think you have to be a specific baseball writer in the
Okay.
Writers Association.
Okay.
You can't just be any strand of the media. I think
Okay.
it's a specific Baseball Writers Association that partners with the Baseball Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about this with Tyler Kepner. He is with The Athletic. He's written about this. And so we'll get some details on what happens from here now that this new chapter has been opened up on Pete Rose to the Hall of Fame. This is DVD, and you're listening to 102.5 The Game. Coming down the home stretch here on DVD, and we will hand the baton off to Joe Rexrode and Paul Kuharsky sitting in for Stillman and Company today.
That said, he's coming in hot.
Spicy. Oh, they're going to come in hot.
Coming in hot.
No question about it. But as we promised you earlier, we got a special guest here, Tyler Kepner, longtime writer for the New York Times, covered several baseball teams, and now writes for The Athletic. He wrote a great column on baseball's decision, Rob Manfred's decision, to lift the deceased players from the permanently ineligible list, which now makes them fair game to be voted on for the Baseball Hall of Fame. So Tyler's got great perspective on this. Tyler, thanks a lot for joining us.
Sure thing. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. So Tyler, first of all, did you see this coming? Did you have any inkling of the timing of this?
Yeah, we had a heads up that it was coming pretty soon, and that's how I was able to write a story beforehand that they could just put right on the site. So sometimes you get kind of a heads up from the people involved.
So as you thought about it and you knew what was ahead here, Derek and I have been talking a lot about the process now, because of course Derek has been up for a lot of Hall of Fames, including the NFL Hall of Fame. And we were just talking about the different ways that different associations vote on a Hall of Fame. And what's ahead for Pete Rose is now basically a committee of 16 people. What do you know about the makeup of those 16 people?
Well, it always varies every year. So there's no way to know right now who exactly will be on the December 2027 committee that is the one that will rule on Pete. You know, that they change it every year, it rotates, judging different eras, 1980 to present, previous to 1980, and then another pool of like managers and umpires and execs kind of thing. So Pete would be prior to 1980 having made its biggest contributions. So that doesn't come up till December 2027. And that group is generally made up of about half of it is usually Hall of Famers themselves. And then there's usually about 4 historian type, writer type, veteran kind of guys, maybe me someday, I hope. And then 4 executives.
So you in theory, you could be on this. You could be on this committee.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, but I'm only 50 and I haven't served on one before, so they tend to skew a little bit older. But yeah, so you get, it's eclectic. You might get a GM, you might get a team president or an owner, and then you might get any combination of like 8 Hall of Famers. Just roll the dice and you don't know who you'll get. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Now, Tyler, I guess the other interesting part about this, and we've talked about it, is, when this group, this 16 members get together, and you don't know what 16 is going to be, how many of those individuals were outspoken with Pete Rose about not getting in, saying he shouldn't deserve to be in, or those that sort of was like, hey, let him in, he's been out long enough? I'm sure that will be a big talking point once that time and day come, because that's essentially is going to determine whether he gets in or not, at least in 2027.
Correct. And that's why, these small committees, people often, will say it's rigged or whatever, because you can, when the Hall of Fame puts together the panel, a lot of times they do know, where these guys stand on certain issues. That has come up in the steroid stuff. When you put certain guys in the committee and they've already said publicly that they wouldn't vote for steroid guys, well, how that's going to go. But one interesting thing is that it's not as if they just sort of hand out their ballots separately. It's a group, it's a room at the winter meetings, and you have to be there in the room. And so it allows for a lot of debate among these 16 people around the round table, whatever. So there can be arguments that might sway somebody in the moment. So that's that. I think, even though it's obviously an incendiary issue and it's hard to get 75% on any issue that's like this, when you're all in the same room, kind of like a jury room, I guess, you might be able to reach more of a consensus.
We'll talk with Tyler Kepner of the Athletic talking Pete Rose. Now, with that being said, I'm sure, and this is another question Will and I were sort of trying to answer, like the outside pressure when that day does come, how much it's going to be on those 16 individuals to either let them in or let them not in. And I'm not even talking about what's going on inside the room. I'm talking about the fan bases and everybody else that have followed baseball for the longest, and those that maybe wanted them in, and those that didn't. Maybe the voices are louder that didn't want them in or did want them in. So the pressure they're going to potentially feel from the outside.
Yeah, I mean that's something that they'll have to think about. The good thing for their sake is that it is an anonymous ballot, unlike a lot of ballots, and it never really gets out. I mean, it's like those people are very, very guarded about who voted for whom, and they don't like to even approach that. So in fact, they don't release the totals once you get down to a certain level. Like they'll say fewer than 8 votes or something, or fewer than 4 votes. So you don't know exactly who got what when it's down to a certain number. So it's pretty secret, and I'm sure it'll be secretive in that one too. And a lot of people will be guessing who voted for whom. And wouldn't it be funny if like you had this ballot and like Tommy John makes it, but not Pete Rose. So because the Pete Rose thing is strictly on how you interpret the moral clause, because there's no doubt, you don't even have to spend any time on his numbers. He's obviously in on his numbers. So the entire conversation is just about the propriety of putting in someone who was banned for the rest of his life for gambling. And, if they do ask you to consider character, integrity, and sportsmanship, as they ask the writers to do, it's kind of hard to get past that, I think.
Now, do you know how, and I know this information just came out, but do you get a sense of how does his family feel? I know they're excited that he's getting in, but there also has to be this feeling of, you could have did this prior to him passing.
Well, right. Yes and no. I mean, his oldest daughter from his first marriage was the driver behind this, working with a lawyer who impressed upon Manfred, the idea that, hey, maybe once you're, it's sort of parsing the language, right? Permanently ineligible is how they described it, not lifetime ban. But colloquially, it's known as a lifetime ban. So when your lifetime is over, shouldn't the ban be over as well? And that's the position essentially that Manfred took. And also there was some pressure from Trump, President Trump, who has talked about his advocacy for Pete's case. And he's talked about that with Manfred personally as well. And so obviously that's an extremely influential person too in his own way. So, I think all those factors went into it happening now, but I don't think it could have happened while he was alive. Certainly by the end of Pete's life, he had come to believe that it would never happen when he was alive. And he had chances to, as Bart Giamatti instructed him, to reconfigure his life. And he didn't really do that ever to baseball's satisfaction. And it took him forever, 15 years, to admit what baseball had found. So, there was a lot of ill will that built up when Pete could have been building bridges.
Tyler Kepner is with us from The Athletic. We're talking about this new chapter in the Pete Rose saga. Now, what about shoeless Joe Jackson, Tyler? Do you? I was debating this in my own mind this morning. Do you think he will have an easier time getting in, or a harder time getting in, or maybe the same as Pete Rose?
Well, there is precedent for him. Having been voted on, because this rule about being on the ineligible list for baseball equating to being ineligible for the Hall of Fame, that didn't come around until 1991, right before Pete was eligible to be on the ballot. So Shoeless Joe had been considered previously and had not made it. Obviously, again, because of the Black Sox scandal, not because of his playing skills, because that would have been an obvious yes. So, he has had the chance before, and I would think he'd come up again for sure. But it's kind of the same issue. I wonder if maybe now the ambiguity of his case could help him, in the sense, like, there's no doubt that Pete Rose bet on the Cincinnati Reds to win as manager. At minimum, that's what baseball has proven and what Pete has admitted to. But the Shoeless Joe Jackson thing, there's so much doubt about whether he tried to lose games on purpose. He had 375 in the World Series. He had 12 hits and all that stuff. So if you can convince people in that room that Shoeless Joe didn't throw the World Series, then I wouldn't be surprised if he got in.
And this also leads to another one that I don't know that we can answer, but do you think this has any effect on Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, just because this whole thing will get tight? In other words, if Rose and Jackson get in, does that help or affect in any way the steroid group?
I think it might, because let's say those guys get in and they have served really literally lifetime banishments from the game.
Effectively, no question. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you keep out people who were never banned from the game? They were suspended in some cases, like A-Rod or Manny Ramirez, but they never did anything that rose to the level that you would ban them for life. So, I don't know. You might get some people who say, "Hey, I don't care. It's cheating." And, those guys, Shoeless Joe and Pete, it was different. Every case is a little different, right? Steroids hit people a different, in a different moral kind of lens. It's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell. Logically, you could say it one way, but so much of it comes down to feel, and it's hard to predict that.
Well, Tyler, this is great stuff. I'm sure you've been mulling this over all day and talking to people about this, and we'll see where it goes from here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pete Rose night tonight in Cincinnati?
Yeah, there's something like Pete Rose Day, Pete Rose night, whatever. It's so funny though. They're playing the White Sox of all teams. And that was the Black Sox World Series, 1919. White Sox and Reds. They don't play much. They don't play each other that often, and it's pretty amazing scheduling by the baseball gods to have them going at it tonight.
I wonder how the atmosphere is going to be and what they talk about. I'll be keeping an eye on that. Tyler, thanks for the time, and we'll talk to you again here very soon.
All right, thanks a lot, fellas.
All right, Good stuff. Tyler Kepner from The Athletic, baseball writer. Check out his article on this whole Pete Rose saga. Interesting stuff, as always. When we come back, we won't be here. We're done for the day. We're going to pass the baton. Joe Rexrode and Paul Kuharsky. This is going to be a fun show. They're taking Jared's time slot with Jared on vacation. So Stillman and Company will be occupied. The company today, Rexrode and Kuharsky. Can't wait to hear that. Derek and I will be back with you tomorrow from noon to 3 on DVD, and then we're back full strength with Adam Friday from 11 to 2.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, wonderful Wednesday, hump day. Peace.